Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's interview. I have the pleasure today of talking with Dimitris Antonopoulos. Dimitris hails from Greece, but is now a resident in Sweden and is a very well known and renowned Dachshund breeder and judge. Having been involved with pedigree dogs since his early 20s, originally starting with Afghan Hounds, then Weimaraners, and now well known for his mini smooth Dachshunds. We get up close and personal with Dimitris, talking about dogs, his busy life as a doctor, his passion for breeding dogs and birds, and specifically the modern day Dachshund. Hi, Dimitris. How are you? And welcome to the show.
Hi. Thank you very much for inviting me. Very exciting to be here and talk with you.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I've got a packed list of questions to fire away at you. So let's get started. And so we have maximum time with you and picking your brain. All right, you are well known like globally as a top breeder and also as a judge. But for the benefit of people who don't know you, maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got involved in pedigree dogs. But I would like you to share the story of the ants because I think that's a fabulous story. And then we'll go along with the interview. So tell us about the ants.
Okay. I mean, I have been born with a virus of breeding, and I've been like my both parents didn't have it, It's like, and always I wanted to breed anything, It's like I've been to the dogs for early, but my parents didn't let me having a dog in the house.
Okay.
So by 5 years old, I was thinking what to breed. I have to have an animal in the house. So I got a huge jar and having a colony of ants that I had from our garden inside my bedroom. And I could see them going around, having their tunnels, having their eggs, moving things, feed them until one day that I left the lid open so they can breathe, and get some fresh air, and I forgot it. So the only thing that I hear my mother screaming like, ah, because the whole ant colony was all around my house except in the jar. So that was the first end of breeding story. And
And how did you get into pedigree dogs then? Or, I mean, like when
I
you
mean, I grow up somehow into dogs because my uncle, actually, the brother of my mother, had always hunting dogs because he was a hunter. So
okay.
he always had, and he was living very close to us. So always I was there with him, and he had pointers. He had the German short hair pointers
Okay.
all his life. So from very young age, I have been into hunting dogs.
Okay.
But my first attempt for really pedigree dog and show dog, it was my early 20s when I moved to the university, and
Right.
you moved outside of the house, So it was my first attempt. Okay, now I'm free. I can have my own dog.
Okay.
And I wanted a very good dog. So I remember that I was like almost 20, that I took a train and many hours traveling, had to arrive to Hungary because a friend that was a student there had made some connections with dogs and dog breeders, and I have found a rough collie. And that was my first actually show dog.
Ah, okay.
Yes, and I by then not many people know actually that I was having a university in Romania, the
Okay.
medical school. So I was enjoying the shows there,
Ah,
and that was my first actually contact with real show scene and pedigree dogs, and having myself the possibility to show.
excellent.
And yeah, unfortunately, the this poor dog was poisoned
Oh
and
no.
died really in a sad way. And I wanted another dog,
Okay.
and
Oh, so that was good.
so that came the possibility of having my first Afghan, because A very close friend that Judge by then, that unfortunately she's dead now, introduced me to somebody that had an Afghan for sale, a sow dog. So I bought then my first Afghan that started sowing, and it was really
How
nice.
long were you involved with Afghans for then?
I was for 12 years,
Okay.
because
And
after Romania, I was moving my life around dogs always, you know. So
we all do.
and I had the possibility to live also in Denmark
Okay.
and live close to Boxaden Kennel and
Ah,
Lotte Jorgensen when I really got my first real Afghans, and be
wow.
part there and learn as much I could from her, you know, and learning the
Wow,
right
that I never
way.
knew. That I never knew, and you couldn't have found better mentors than
Yeah.
Lotta and Ulf. Wow. Okay.
And Afghans became a part of my life,
Okay.
and it's a big part of my heart until today.
Okay.
Unfortunately, going back to Greece and continue my as a resident in medical school, and had to work a lot of hours.
Yes.
And I mean, you have to be in the hospital like 12 hours a day
Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
resident. And so my time for grooming was limited. Plus, back in Greece, back then, we had about 5 shows a year,
Okay.
smaller shows than the rest of Europe, of course. And it was quite a big thing to keep an Afghan in top condition for
Absolutely.
showing 5 times a year.
Yes.
So that was the time that I have to have something new. And having, of course, my work, but still having something easier at home and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And that was the time that when I imported the first, actually, Weimaraner from Australia in Europe,
Nice.
because I wanted a nice dog, a show dog,
Okay.
but much easier than grooming an Afghan.
Without coat, with no hair to groom.
And we had a really good fun, beautiful beach,
Okay.
and she did a lot of winning
Okay. And
with
how
her.
long were you with Weimaraners before the Dachshunds came on the scene?
I was for about 5 years with Weimaraners,
Okay.
but then I wanted another breed that could be easier for me traveling abroad of Greece and showing my dogs in Europe.
Yes.
Back then, it was extremely expensive having a big crate in the airplane.
Naturally.
A Dachshund, you could have it in the cabin and travel all over, and easy and participate to shows, because I wanted to put my standards and my competition in another level. So that made the idea that started with Dachshund. So Dachshunds became in my life because I wanted a small breed.
Okay. So now Dachshunds are in your life. Are you still in Greece or have you moved to Sweden? So what prompted the move to Sweden? Let's talk a little bit about that.
You know, that's another thing that always I love dogs. Always I wanted to breed. Always I wanted to compete in a more higher level.
Right.
So what brought me to Sweden is that I have been earlier than moving here, judging several times. I knew the Swedish shows, the Swedish show scene, you know, and I
Okay.
loved it. And
Okay.
I said, wow, they have everything there. They have so good quality dogs in so
Yeah.
many different breeds. So there I can actually, I could move here, work in a very high level also in my profession, but still be able to show in a very high level for Europe. And I was really pleased I did that.
So
And I
what
am.
year did what year did you move to Sweden then?
2008.
Okay. So quite a
Yeah.
while. 12 years.
And I brought my Dachshunds with me, actually. And of course, in the beginning, it was very hard until I found a house, until I found exactly where I had where to work. Because, of course, you don't move where you don't have a workplace, but until you find the right house.
Yeah.
And I'm really very thankful always to Diplomatic Kennels, with the
Right.
Great Danes, the famous diplomatic scandals, that they have helped me having my Dachshunds
Yeah.
there with the huge Great Danes until I
They would
could
have,
move in
they would
my.
have they would have ruled the Great Danes. Let me tell you, I've had Great Danes and Dachshunds, and the Dachshunds control. So now I want to talk. There's something interesting I want to bring up here, because one of the things we talked about was how many champions you've bred, and you brought up a very interesting point about working tests, which is something, of course, in many European countries nationally. Can you tell, for the sake of our audience, can you explain a little bit about that, about champions, making a Swedish champion?
Exactly. I mean, being a profession here as a doctor, I have a lot to do, and
Naturally.
I didn't really have the time always, or to say never, almost, to be involved with the working part of the actions. Not that I don't agree with it or I don't support it, but that's the reason that my dogs, mostly of my dogs, they're not champions, Swedish champions, for example, because to become a Swedish champion in Sweden, you need to have the working test. That actually, the most of them, they have like blood tracking. In my opinion, any dog can do it. Any
Right.
dachshund, any pug, any whippet can do it, and they have proved it. So it's easy part to do it, but need some time to be involved with.
Yeah, because you have to train them. I mean, it involves
Yeah,
training, it involves time to get them used to the idea of
exactly.
yeah,
But several of my soul dogs to nice houses that they had the possibility to do it, of course, they become champions, because they put the time there to the effort to.
so that brings us to the next topic, which is something part of this interview actually. One of the reasons I wanted to talk to you was that you have an extremely busy career. Can you very briefly tell us what you do, maybe in a nutshell, and then tell us, more importantly, how is it you manage to balance your time? Because you're one of the very few people, or one of the, I would say not few, but there are several professionals with a full-time, very busy career, at the same time keeping this passion to breeding dogs. So can you tell us a little bit about how you manage to do that, how you manage to balance the two?
Exactly, and this is the beauty of Sweden.
Okay.
Here, you have a very serious job you do in the hospital, but gives you the possibility also that you do rewarding by some free time that you have. Of course, because of the high taxes in Sweden, if you get paid for everything extra you do in the hospital, comes up that you work for the tax people only. So every extra you get paid by free time.
Okay.
You can, not that it's obligatory, but you can. So what you can do actually here is like use your free time, your extra working time, night shifts, or what you do in the hospital in the weekends or wherever you do, to have some extra free time that you are possible. It's possible actually to uh, use it whenever you want. So this gives me the possibility to be more times with my dogs, travel more around the world, either for showing my dogs or for judging. And
Nice.
this is what I loved here in Sweden, that you
Okay.
cannot actually find in different many other countries.
So can you tell us your specialty? What is it you do? What keeps you busy? What pays the
I
bills?
am
Buys the dog?
international. I'm interventional radiologist, and this is like a specialty of radiology that you can actually intervene inside the body,
Okay.
working inside the body without really opening the body with the help of X-rays. To say it simple, so everybody can understand it. For example, I can puncture an artery from the down to the beginning of the leg, and with special catheters, go up and travel through the vessels in different parts of the bodies and stop a bleeding that exists, for example, or put special medicine for the tumors
Okay.
inside the liver, for example, or use different techniques. For example, I work a lot with transplant patients, or also very much with cancer patients.
Okay.
So, for example, I'm doing a lot of ultrasounds, and with the help of ultrasounds and special needles, you puncture tumors in the liver, for example, and you barbecue them from outside the
Wow.
body.
Wow.
And you or metastasis or whatever they can be there in or in kidneys, and it's stuff that it's very rewarding both for you and for the patient.
Okay. So this was part of your move to Sweden, was it gave you the flexibility to still pursue your medical passion, to be a doctor, and at the same time to find the time. Is it a challenge? I mean, like, you obviously don't get to go to a lot of shows. You can't do shows every weekend because you have a life and things like that. So does that mean that you don't actually go to shows a lot, but you still enjoy, you still breathe, you still continue with your breeding program? Is that right?
Exactly. I'm a person that I love my house also.
Okay.
Even if I could, I would never choose to to judge every weekend or to show every weekend, for example,
Right.
because I really enjoy my house, my flowers, my birds,
Yes.
my garden, and you have to find a balance. You have to find a balance and do everything. But of course, it's beautiful to show your dogs, to show your work, because
Yeah.
I show my dogs myself.
Yeah.
Um, and it's really rewarding when you win the breed, or something more than that in a
Okay.
show, and I really enjoy doing it.
Okay, so it's basically finding balance to do the things you enjoy, but you are still passionate about breeding, and so that's still what you do. At the end of the day, for you, it's about having dogs that you love, running around your backyard or inside your house. But anyway,
Exactly.
um, okay. Which do you enjoy more, judging, breeding, well, showing your dogs?
I can say very clearly that I enjoy more breeding, not that I don't enjoy judging,
Okay.
but I was born with a virus of breeding. I mean, I think breeding is an art also. It's something that you're born with it.
Yeah.
This feeling that you put something in combination, if it's birds or dogs, using all the genetics behind it
Mm.
to make your dream come true.
Okay.
That from this combination, and especially this feeling when you put a puppy in the table,
Yeah.
or you see for a bird in the nest, that's exactly what, because in birds actually it's more the genetics behind that is with the dogs, with different color combinations and stuff, and that you really succeed what you was expected. It's the feeling, it's unbelievable for a breeder, that somebody that lives for that. Of course, by judging, it's an amazing feeling of going out and find this that nobody has found it before, for example, or nobody,
Okay.
you have never seen it. I mean,
Yeah.
an old woman with a super dachshund or another breed that
Yes.
you have never seen it before. It's amazing. And judging can be also very rewarding in sometimes. And I had the possibility at least once in my life to, I was judging some years ago, for example, a show in Norway,
Okay.
and I had the privilege of judging Afghans.
Right.
And a lady came in with a beats that I have never seen it before, even she was in a champion class.
Okay.
Gopi, I can tell you that I was start crying
Okay.
in the middle of the ring, and I could not stop it.
Really?
And
You
I'm
actually
getting
cried? Oh my
no,
goodness.
and I'm getting emotional by now. I
Yeah.
saw this dog moving in that way that got goosebumps all over my body, and I
Wow.
stopped. I said to my stewards, "I'm sorry, I cannot help it. Never happened to me again in my life."
Yeah.
And the owner of the dog could not believe why the judge is crying. And I said, and I told her, "I'm sorry, but I love your dog." And it was a long time that I haven't seen a true Afghan like that. And
Wow.
this feeling makes you I mean, the pleasure of judging around the world.
Absolutely. That's something that I think judging is very stressful sometimes because people don't realize.
Exactly, especially
Okay.
if it's in your after your breed with people you know, because I know the breeders all over the world,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they have to. It's more stressful what they would think of my
yeah.
opinion.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you brought up a very interesting point, and it's something that a view that I've had. Breeding is an art. It requires someone to be a little bit artistic, to have an eye for beauty, to appreciate these finer things. But you're a scientist as well. I mean, you're a doctor. So medical people, scientists are very much about theories and those sort of things. Do you find it that maybe you have the best of both worlds, or did you have to with breeding dogs do less of being a scientist and more of feeling from inside when you look at a puppy, when you imagine a breeding, rather than scientifically put everything together?
I think it's a balance between both, and it's good that you have both. That helps you to see things. For example, as a doctor, I can understand much more the anatomy
Yeah.
than many other people do. I can understand more the genetics between some dogs and some, for example, not only dogs, but sicknesses that other people they said, oh, I want to test for that, but they don't see that testing is very good and very important, but also it's like something, an issue to a breed comes with many different from different matters.
Okay.
So as a scientist, I can see this and exclude what actually it's the less important. Of course, breeding, I think, is an art. Not everybody has it. For
Absolutely.
me, you cannot you cannot study this. You have to have it,
Correct.
and you have to have the eye. Some people they have two eyes
Totally.
than others.
Totally.
Some people they can see if it's a dog or a horse or something, and they can point out that this has to be bred with this, for example. It's a gift and it's an art. The same. It's like a sculpture.
Okay.
By breeding two dogs, you try to make this sculpture that you have in your head, and it's perfect for you. Maybe
Yes.
it's not perfect for somebody else,
Yes.
but it's perfect for you. And this is what the sculptor does also.
So when do you think that, or do you feel that you have to tone down the scientist in you, the need for science when you're breeding? Because, as you said, it's an art. There's so many successful breeders who could breed two fleas and produce best in show winners, and they would not have a scientific degree at all, but yet
Exactly.
talented. So, do you think you have to tone it down a little bit? The fact that you can't put too much science into what you're doing sometimes.
uh I mean, in a way you are right, but as I said, that like you see more scientific the bad thing of
Okay,
breeding, for
okay,
example.
right,
The bad side, not the bad thing, because nothing bad about breeding. The bad side of breeding with the problems and the diseases and
right.
whatever characters and stuff. So
Yeah,
to be a little bit more open-minded
okay,
than several other people that just go more narrow-minded in many issues.
okay. So let's talk breeding now, and let's talk science. With your breeding program, are you following line breeding, outcross? What's generally your, what you follow in your kennels for your dogs?
Uh, what I like and what I have following in the very limited breeding I have done all these at least 15 years of dachshunds, or a little more than 50 years of dachshunds that I am involved in the breed. I'm
Okay,
not a huge, and I cannot compare with big kennels. So they do many. I mean, I have honestly can say that I have just finished the alphabet,
okay,
and, and starting now from the beginning. And
okay,
this is actually makes me proud from this limited litters, I could have some dogs that they are well known worldwide.
Okay. Yes.
But still, in the same time, I'm not playing that I make a line here or something. I still respect the ones that have worked before me for the breed.
Yes. And that's a very valid
And
point, which what people forget.
exactly. And to go back to your questions, a little more specifics, like I use line breeding and I believe to the line breeding. And of course, line breeding to very important studs or dogs that you see that's behind the pedigree that you know that really have worked their way through the pedigree. And for this is very important to study the pedigree and to know personally the dogs. And like I say nowadays, never ever breed Facebook pictures. A true breeder is the one that knows the pedigree and has it in their mind, the dogs behind, what are they, how do they move, what they have give, what are the things that they have passed in their offsprings that
Yeah.
you can see with your eyes.
Wow. Okay. That's you know, that's just giving me an idea. We started those days with paper pedigrees, then we had photo pedigrees. Maybe now we need to make video pedigrees where you can actually see movement of all the ancestors on a pedigree. So someone there out
Exactly.
there, that's a good idea for you to do something like that. So when you choose to use an outcross, and we all need to outcross every now and again because you can't keep line breeding forever. Um, what are the factors that come in? Are you choosing a dog that's got some genetical connections to what you already have, or are you looking more phenotype so they look like the type of your dogs? In choosing an outcross, what is your priority?
Yeah, in my case, that is different than big kennels that they have like 20 exist. People I know in the States, they have 200 dogs and they have 30 or 40 litters a year. I might have 1 liter a year,
Okay.
maybe two sometimes, or maybe none
Okay.
exist years without. So it's different, always depends who you are, how much breeding you do, how much stock you have.
Right.
But somehow it's using an outcross is very important in your line breeding. And always you have to use a dog that is totally out genetically of what you have. So you bring
Right.
the new thing inside, but
Right.
still in your liking. So
Okay.
phenotype has to be somehow what you like and not totally different. And for me, it's very important also to use not only the line, but the particular dog you like from this line that you think that is the producer.
Okay.
That is
And
very important. And this is studying pedigrees and studying also what every dog has gave.
so this also involves, therefore, studying the pedigrees of the outcross and knowing the ancestors behind those, so that you know what you're introducing into your kennels.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because you don't introducing the good stuff, you're introducing the bad stuff also.
Absolutely. I mean, in breeding and in choosing anything, there's good and there's bad. Of course, you've hoped to have more good than bad, so that you know you can improve. So tell us about Paco, because I think this is a dog that put you on the map, so to speak, has
Mhm.
influenced your breeding program a lot. But let's start with the fact that he wasn't destined to go to you. He was supposed to go to the UK, correct? Which is why his name was Grand Gables Carpaccio in Red. Um,
Exactly. And you know, um being back to Greece, I have asked Grand Gables Kennel for a dog almost 5 years
okay,
before actually I got Paco.
okay,
And in these 5 years, also, I moved from Greece to Sweden.
okay,
And it was in the beginning of my moving to Sweden here that guy contact me. And I said, I have a very beautiful dog. You might want it. I said, is it true? It came the time. 5 years is not, I mean, think about the newcomers that I want a dog now.
yes,
I just want a very good dog. from the lines that I believed, but I could wait. So by then, I didn't know what's Carpaccio Kennel. I didn't know Jason, for example.
Okay.
And I didn't knew that Paco was supposed to go to somewhere else. I just have sent actually one of my bitches to Guy to be bred.
Okay.
And I went from Sweden to Canada from Friday to Saturday morning to bring her back. So I have her with me in the cabin so she doesn't get stressed being pregnant, early pregnancy, 15 days after. So then I saw Paco and I evaluate Paco also. And I said, oh my God, I want this dog. So actually, even nobody knows that I didn't knew that the dog actually was going somewhere else.
Okay.
And I was really, really privileged to get this dog, because this is, like you said, changed my life, changed my breeding program, gave it in another level, because Paco really proved that one of the best producers ever, and got that also from his sire, that he's also one of the biggest producers in the breed.
So let's pause there for a minute. Obviously, a dog from North America is in type very different to an FCI Dachshund. Was the decision a bit controversial? What was the reason you went? I mean, Grand Gables kennels of Mark and Guy, they're world famous. I mean, they have dogs in Europe as well, and every part of the world, no doubt. But your decision to go to a dog that was North American, that was different in type, what was behind that?
Every person, every breeder should have a vision.
Okay.
It should have a vision of what is the ideal for him to breed. And my ideal, in my mind, it was a specific thing, what I liked.
Okay.
And what I like came first. My first dogs was from America, actually.
Okay.
And two bitches from America, from the world famous Hudson kennels there.
Oh, yes.
And from a bitch from Finland that also had Grand Gables behind.
Okay.
And it's not like I didn't went to the true, like we say, FCI type, because it's not that I don't believe, because I am FCI country and FCI judge, but it's exactly how I interpret the correct Dachshund in my mind. So Paco, I didn't get him because I believe more to the North America thing, but more in the ideal Dachshund that I wanted to create with my breeding.
Okay. And did that totally change the direction of your breeding program?
Exactly. And gave me the way that when I saw with his first litters, what he could produce.
Okay.
He actually, I was, to tell honestly, Paco was my from in the beginning in my breeding program.
Okay.
So it didn't really have a history behind that. Paco came and changed it.
Okay, so he basically set you off. He started you off, so to speak.
Exactly, and that was really my luck in the breed, to say somehow.
I've always said, start with good dogs. Why go for second best and then work your way up? Don't reinvent.
Exactly, and that was my point. I want to start with as best as possible.
Yes.
To achieve what I wanted.
Okay, so how was Paco received by the European Dachshund fraternity? What did they think of him?
The European school, it is, and it will be the same always.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it will be a division between many people. I mean, it's the German school that is the German people, Austrian, and everything what is around the German school, and it's a Scandinavian.
Yes.
A little more. Not only Dachshunds, in many breeds, I think, especially in our breed.
Yes.
So I think that Paco, it was the dog that was loved and is loved by almost everybody.
Okay.
Actually, it was only two judges in his whole life that put him down in the judging, and I think it was more political decision than actually what they believed.
Okay.
And he was always loved by anybody in the ring because of his temperament, of his movements, of the way that he was built.
Yes.
And that actually made him in Sweden in young age to become 4 top dog all breeds.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and that was the year that I was really showing a lot. Because you need points and the shows are big,
Yeah.
and you have to travel, and Sweden is long and big country, so you have to be as much everywhere. And Paco actually could achieve that, even if I was actually judging 3 most important shows that year in the summer, the big shows, and I had to lose all the points because I could not show my dog. But I could not. I didn't want either to not go and show, just judge because I had to show. And actually, I was how it is the destiny makes it that I had to judge the top dog number 1, number 2, and number 3. They are breeds. And of course, because they're beautiful dogs, I had to put them up myself also. And but anyway, Paco did it and become the number 4 top dog all breeds in Sweden. That never happened before with a dachshund.
Fabulous. Absolutely fabulous.
This, answer your questions, how he was received here.
Okay.
Because with so many judges that appreciate him and put him up, that not always happen. And I think the best.
Let's talk about the breeders. Was he used much at stud?
Yeah,
Outside
he
of your
was
own dog.
used. Yeah, exactly. Except of my own dogs, he was used from some clever breeders.
Okay.
That they could see his qualities, and they have traveled from far away. And that was also people from Russia, for example, from Slovenia, like Ilya Ignatova with Line of Life Kennel. I mean, she was something that changed, I think, her whole breeding level, breeding with Paco, and helped her so much in the future. Also, Nina with the Clara de Fino kennel, for example, in her first steps, she was lucky to come and breed with Paco. That gave her all this power in her future breeding, having him behind her breeding.
Okay, so I want to say something that do you think that when he produced bred to very typical European bitches, do you think he produced a middle of the road Dachshund that was acceptable both in North America, in the UK, Australia, and Europe, and most of the FCI world? That it wasn't that he produced puppies that were not one extreme or the other, but they were middle of the road.
Look, Paco proved to be very dominant,
okay,
producing himself,
okay,
and correcting. For example, he has the most amazing rear, and that was bitches that had very weak rears. They produced really strong rears in the puppies because he was dominant. He was producing always temperaments, nice build dogs. So of
with
course,
body. Dachshunds with body,
bone,
yeah,
and it's not like producing the American type or European type. I mean, he was producing well-built dogs with good temperament that
correct accent. He was producing correct accents.
he could move.
Okay, that could move. Okay, so that's something we're going to discuss a bit later, and I'm not going to get into that now. But one of the reasons for this interview was simply that both you and I are FCI judges, and we breed Dachshunds to FCI standards. But we've managed to produce dogs that are acceptable the world over. So in whichever countries, and we've not gone one extreme or the other. And personally, I've always felt that there are two schools of thought when it came to Dachshunds. There is the very European type, which are higher on leg, um, lighter in bone, less spring of rib, a more finer dog. And then you have the heavier, I know that's the extreme, of very heavy dogs, very low to the ground. But there seems to be a middle of the road, more moderate Dachshund now. Or would you say that the Dachshund has evolved? What are your views on this as a Dachshund breeder?
Of course, it depends of who sees, and depends who, for example, people. Of course, every breed is evaluating, but evaluated in whose eyes? In an all-rounder or a typical old-fashioned person that cannot accept any evaluation except to be a dog into a hole.
Yes.
I mean, exist people, unfortunately, judges, they care only about counting teeth and feeling the tail. Okay. And exist until today.
I know.
So they never put the dog in the ground to look at it, how they move. They look the dog only in the table.
Yes.
And you see that even today in many shows, international, somehow I would say European shows.
Yes.
And
European shows.
Unfortunately, I remember, I mean, it was the World Show actually in Bratislava. I don't remember which year was there. That was maybe the first time that Guy and Mark came to watch an FCI show, and I saw Mark running to sort the mini smooth ring and say, come, you have to see the head tail judge. I said, what is the head tail judge? There's a guy in the long hair minis. He just opened the mouth, counting the teeth, and look the tail. He never looks the rest of the body. But I mean, exist beautiful judges also, very knowledgeable, that they put their hand and they check the whole body of the dog. But of course, we have to see the whole thing and the balance.
Correct. This is the other thing that I find is that this penchant to measure, to count teeth, to feel. I mean, you can run your hand along the tail and feel if there's a kink. I mean, as a breeder, you and I know that. But you see people massaging every joint, and it's so unnecessary because you just need a cursory pull on the tail. But I find that too many judges watch this. Obviously, they watch some older breed specialists do this. And then they become fixated on measuring, fixated on counting, fixated on massaging the tails, and they completely miss seeing the dog. They completely miss examining this hunting dog, and they are fixated on these two things. And I think, I mean, this is one of the reasons I want to discuss this with you. Do you feel that they completely throw the baby out with the bathwater because they're so focused on one thing that they have missed seeing the entire dog?
Exactly. And you can see many breeds in Germany school. And for example, Dobermans, boxers, their own breeds. But I don't say that it's not important looking the tail. It's very important looking the tail. But I will check every tail in each dog. But Correct. It will not be one dog that I will not check my finger their length of keel.
Yes.
To see, especially in Dachshunds. I mean the breastbone, how long it is under.
Yes.
The rib cage, how long it is, to feel it with my and to see how big is the space between the pelvis and the last rib. I mean, dachshunds, they're hunting dogs.
Okay.
They have to work all day. They have, and they don't move with the tails. They have to have a very balanced body to be able to achieve their work.
I mean, I've always said this when I do a Dachshund lecture. Every part of the Dachshund was invented because of his work. I mean, every
Yeah,
part, from the tip of his nose to the tip of his tail, and everything in between was specifically there for a reason. Why the chest space for heart and lung room? Why the long rib cage to protect that? Why, powerful jaw? Why all
exactly.
the whys is why bigger front feet than rear feet? Everything functional, completely functional. But I find that too many judges get focused on these smaller things of counting. And the other thing which many get fixated on is a table examination, and then they hardly move the dogs. So, do you find that's also the case, that they hardly move them and then they place the worst moving dogs, almost cripple, um, because over dogs that are correct, move correctly, and movement is important?
Yeah. Uh, for me, it's both extremely important, both the table examination and the ground examination.
Correct.
Not in FCI, in every continent.
Yes.
I mean, examine in the table, gives you the opportunity to feel the dog, to feel the rib cage, to feel the keel, to feel the space, like I said, but also looking in the front to see the oval chest that has to have, how
Yes.
deep it is,
Yeah.
and to see the face, the expression, but it's extremely, you see a beautiful dog sometimes,
Yes.
somehow, okay? Maybe it's not the perfect, but it's a nice dog. And suddenly, when you put it in the ground, and it happened to me in several countries or in a continent, for example, that I was judging and I had beautiful stacking dogs.
Yes.
But the moment they start moving, you could not believe these back legs, for example, that the screws was totally loose, and they could not go like that, but they was going like that. But they was perfectly
Stacked.
when they was stacked. So it's very important, the the moving and evaluating a dog in movement, because actually the movement is this that shows the correct construction.
Okay. And that is a reason I brought that up. And we've got videos, guys. We're going to go through some videos. And once I finish questions with Dimitri, we're
Yeah,
actually going to talk movement, because it is something very important in the breed to understand a correct moving dachshund, and how a dachshund should have reach and drive, which is missing
exactly.
in many.
For me, it's one of the most important parts of the breed.
Yes.
And to remind you, I had Afghans, and I had extremely good Afghans
Yes.
being from Boxer and Kennel.
Yes.
I could never have bad moving dachshunds. I
Correct.
could not have them at home, so I have to work in that way.
Yes. So we're going to show videos later and some pictures, for
Yeah,
our viewers so they can understand this. But I just want to keep talking first about Dachshunds, and then we'll get to that. So to me, the Dachshund is very simple breed to understand, but many get confused and lost when they're judging. Why do you think that is?
I think most of the people, judges, owners, exhibitors, newcomers, they are fixed that the dachshund, most important thing is a straight top line.
Okay.
The moment they see a straight top line, they forget the rest.
Okay.
Of course, it's extremely important. It's a feature of the breed.
Yes.
But what they have to, many our colleagues, judges, for example, they have to focus in the rib cage, in the length of upper arm, in the correct angle of the front.
Yes.
I mean, this it's the camera upside down. I mean, to having a almost straight front with the front upper arms hanging almost from the ears down like earrings,
Yes.
that cannot be a correct dachshund.
Yes.
It has to have a length of upper arm and be there and praise when you see it, but also penalize it when you don't see it. And there are so many. I think that means
So
the
true.
most. I mean, there are so many dogs. They're so straight. They lacking length of, and it's
Do you
really
think, Dimitri, do you think it's because sometimes they get a bit carried away with all these, okay, let's forget about the measuring and the counting, but do you think they get caught up with this flashy, fast moving things that they have, they're not really paying attention to the hallmarks of correct, length of upper arm and a good layback of shoulder, turn of stifle, those things? Do you think it's this flashy movement we see nowadays, this fast running movement that they think, oh wow, it's straight top line,
I mean, flashy movements. I think it's more with many other breeds than dachshunds. I wish we had more wrong dachshunds moving, flashing. That so many we have that they cannot go and extend their back feet, for example, their rear. Um, People they have many judges they have wrong priorities, and of course, when you judge, you have priorities.
yes,
Like I said, priority is not the top line.
yeah,
It is a very important, but it's not. The priority is to have a balance and correct front and rear. That one balance the other,
yes,
and you have a dog that really can have a powerful drive that makes him move forward.
yeah. And the other thing which I find a lot of people get confused about is the correct accent body. Um, Oval chest. I mean, a lot of people don't seem to understand what oval means. And you get slab sided, where they have no spring of rib, but they are flat, slab sided, getting rewarded, elbow sticking out. Just the most,
Oval is oval. You have to see this.
yes,
And now I will say something that even me, I was trapped. It was a dog that I saw on Facebook that I said, wow, what dog is that?
yeah,
A very well known kennel.
okay,
And I sent a message to the breeder and said, you know what? I love your dog and I want to breed with it. Would you please, we make it possible? I said, yes, no problem, no problem. Suddenly, I was judging in the Amsterdam Winter, the big show in Holland.
okay,
And in my surprise, I see the breeder and the dog there
okay,
to see in front of me. And I said, okay, I told her to I love her dog, but she can come because she knows that who they can come, that they know that actually I love the dog. So, okay, no problem for me. When I went in front of the dog in the table, I could not believe my eyes. The dog was so narrow, it was like a truck went over it, like a cartoon. And smashed. I have never seen a dachshund like that in in my life.
I've seen many.
Like that so much. I mean, that see this front with the oval thing, like the oval chest from the front and stuff. It was so narrow that you could not. I said, cannot be true. So I gave the dog very good, and I destroyed my relation with the breeder forever because didn't accept it. But when I judge dogs and not faces. And even the dog that I love and I want to breed with it, I saw it live and I could not believe in my eyes.
Yes, which is
So
why when you're judging not just Dachshunds but any breed, important to look at them from all angles, because
exactly.
photos are are two-dimensional. We don't see the other parts. So
And not breed Facebook pictures again.
okay. As a breeder judge, I mean, we've talked about, this is for the benefit, our discussion, I guess, is for the benefit of novice exhibitors, other exhibitors to think about, as well as judges, because our issues with, judges influence in many ways, besides breeders, how a breed ends up. What are your pet hates with judges doing when they judge your breed or our breed, I should say?
Exactly. Partly, we said a little bit in already discussed questions, but what I hate is the judge that does not pay attention to overall image of the dog, both in the table and in the floor.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean if it's indoors or outdoors. And also very important is the temperament.
Okay.
You see nowadays dogs that they don't easily want to be touched in the show ring. So dogs that they skip and give excellent to the dogs that they have straight fronts,
Mm,
short upper arms.
mm,
We should penalize that much, even if they don't. Most of people they don't like to go home with a very good or a good. But this will make the breed move much forward if we're a little bit more strict. I cannot watch dogs that they can, I mean, I cannot watch judges that they have not penalized dogs, that they cannot extend their rear leg out of the body, but they moving with the legs under them.
like a chow
So,
chow.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's your pet hate with that. Okay. Let's talk about advice for novice owners of this breed. I mean, people who are show people. What would you recommend? I know we've sort of talked about this, but I'd just like to hear it again. What advice would you give them?
I think is talking directly with the breeder,
Okay.
talking directly with different breeders, hear their opinion. Nowadays, Facebook, for example, all social media have made us a little family. If you're living in Australia or living in Canada or in Brazil, it's so close. It's just a message away.
Totally.
And actually, it's so much bad talking behind of good dogs, good breeders.
Mm.
For people, they live out of that. So my really advice is who wants to do something, who wants to try something, it's talk directly with the breeder. Don't hear what somebody tell you. You know what? I know that, don't tell to anybody, but I know that this dog has a problem. It's so much talking. The same fake news that goes from for everything else around the world, from politics, from COVID, from all this fake news. It's what we're living in Facebook.
Yeah.
I mean, what somebody wants to breed with a dog and thinks, oh, I hear it's so expensive. Here they don't give it away only for their dogs, for example. But it's not bad to contact directly the person and talk with the judge if wants their opinion, for example, if you respect their opinion, or even a certain breeder, and this will help them go forward.
Excellent advice. Excellent advice. I like that. Um, with breeds being under attack from animal liberation, I'm not just talking Dachshunds, I'm talking in general. Dachshunds, unfortunately, will be one of the breeds because of the how they are, how they're structured, will eventually be under attack. There are already some signs of this. What would be your advice to breeders to avoid our breed from coming under complete attack? What would you recommend they do?
Unfortunately, we're living in times that we run of many, how to say it, like people, animal savers. and they want to save the brachiocephalic deep breeds for dog people. They want to save dachshunds from dog people. I think the most important, especially for dachshunds, is to the breeders to clarify and help their puppy buyers. Explain, for example, that a dachshund will not have a disc hernia, for example, just because it was born to have a disc hernia. Okay? It's the everyday life that gives to the dog the damage that can happen to the skeleton of everyday's activities. If you have a dog that jumps up and down and up and down, goes up to the stairs, up and down to the stairs, or goes even to the couch or to a higher bed. I mean, you know, the American beds, they're really huge. You know, if you have a dog and you like to even a pet to sleep with you, and you leave this dog go down the bed so many times, it jump and jump and jump, even if it was never to have a problem, will have a problem, because both bassets or dachshunds on this, they are made, constructed to that way that I mean, the breeders should explain also how the dog should live a happy life and a safe life in the same time.
Okay, I like that. I like that. All right, our final question before we go into the videos and pictures. In this day and age of designer breeds and fancy mutts, can you share your thoughts about breed preservation and why it's important for all breeds of dogs, not just dachshunds, breed preservation?
I mean, being a judge and being passionate about dogs and knowing the different breeds and why they was created, I can understand that's a lot of heritage we have to preserve. Many people, they don't even know that there exist so many different breeds, that every breed actually was made not from specific work, either is a hunting, working, or whatever, or companion. And these dogs was created by people for several decades, and they lived like that. Pekingese, Pags, or Dachshunds, they have an extremely long history, and they just not popped out in 2000, having make some people happy. So it's very important we preserve history.
Sorry, we just lost you there a little bit. You said it's very important that we preserve history. Is that right? You said?
Yeah, the history of each breed.
Okay.
You hear me now?
Yes, perfectly now.
Yeah, okay. So it's very important that we keep, even if it's a guardian, a shepherd, so many dogs that exist in Mediterranean, in all over the world, native breeds for each country. It's so important. It's part of the history.
Yes.
And some dogs lived for thousands of years, some breeds, you know, that they existed. Of course, they evaluated by time, but they exist for thousands of years before.
I think that's one of the reasons why I brought up specific things which maybe annoy me about attention that's not given by judges and breeders to our breed. Because if we don't pay attention to these things, movement, correct structure, it will then open us up much easier for attack. Because when you're producing these crippled dogs that have, you know, all these issues, and you're not, and judges are rewarding these sort of dogs, and people, a new person thinks, well, that's what it should look like because that's the winning dog. I think this is where we then make ourselves more vulnerable to these issues, which is why we've brought up, or I felt the importance of bringing up some of these issues to
and exactly kennel clubs should be a big part of this, and educate and advertise, for example, the purebred dogs all over, and make everybody understand it, that they are purebreds, because there are people behind trying for their best.
Yes.
Of
Function.
course, exist
have a-
good doctors and bad doctors. Exist
Sure.
good architects and bad architects, and good dog breeders and bad dog breeders. But in the main thing, the breeder is the one that is checking, exercising, loving their dogs, and of course, checking by their mistakes or their problems in the breed and take care to eliminate them.
Perfect.
And this is
All
a
right.
purebred dog.
Excellent. And okay, I'm going to share my screen now, and hopefully this works because all best plans sometimes don't come to pass. But let's see. All right. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, I see your desktop.
Okay. Do you want to see the still images first or the videos? What would you like me to pull up first?
I think we should use the picture first.
Okay. So let's go with image one. Right. Talk to me.
I used dogs bred by me, and I want to actually point out that, of course, it's a FCI standard,
Yes.
but we should everybody try to breed a dog that can be shown and be liked from many judges all over the world.
Okay.
Because most of all is well constructed.
Okay.
And it's not about only how high are the legs, that many, for example, the old German school, they are so fixed that how high the dog is in legs, and they
Yes.
forget the rest of the dog.
Okay.
This is a dog bred by me that is quite higher in legs
Okay.
that other dogs I bred, but still with the right length of upper arm, the right length of shoulder blade,
Okay.
while keeping, of course, a beautiful, for me, rear. You
Yes.
see chest, you cannot
Balance.
see from the, balance between the front and rear, even if it's have this more in the leg than some they will say American dog, but I would say more English dog, because in America you don't see so low dogs nowadays. Anyway, not all of them at least, especially mini.
Yeah.
But in England, of course, you see dogs that are quite low in legs.
Yeah. The chest is sitting on the wrist here, actually.
Exactly.
What I like about this dog is his balance of front and rear. I also especially like, and this is something you mentioned, and people should take note. Look at where the underline ends. I mean, like the rib cage ends here. It doesn't end here, the front legs, before the front legs, or at the front legs.
You mean the breastbone?
Yeah, sorry. I mean, like, you know, his the rib
exactly.
cage, it comes back. It's well ribbed back until here, and then the rest of the rib cage. But there's this, so the heart and lung is well protected. That's why they need to have it. And this is the reason why we have to check from the front how far back rib they are underneath, not just on top, but underneath. So that's what I like about this dog, actually.
Exactly, and put the finger, use their finger and put it there under and feel it.
Yes. Okay, what else do you want to talk about this dog? Otherwise, I'm going to open up the next image if you're...
The next image is how this dog is moving.
Okay, so who's this dog?
The number 2 image that you have next.
Okay. The still image, right. I'm with you. Okay, perfect.
So, it's the same dog in a moving picture that you see the extension that has front and rear. And we have to see this in our rings.
Yep.
This is what I love. I mean, you see the barriers that are extended behind has the drive, so the dog can push in front. But also very important to see the front legs that they don't go to the sky,
Yes.
because the shoulder blade is so correct the length that doesn't leave the dog to go, and has the extension, but exactly how
Correct.
far
And
should
one
go.
thing I love, and this shows it clearly, is you can actually see the pads, the rear pads of the dog. When if you're
Exactly.
behind watching him move, you could actually see the rear pads, and that shows you that he's driving from underneath here
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
pushing back, rather than just having this sort of chow chow stilted movement, which many seem to have, because they don't have the correct shaped rear to start with. That seems to be the problem.
Also, we see many dachshunds in front, they're bicycling.
Yes,
They're not extending.
correct.
They have short movements and they try to
They're compensating.
just
Absolutely right.
bicycling front.
Yeah. Okay, I love that. And look at the top line. He keeps his top line
Keeps it
beautiful
exactly.
tail carriage. He's, it's a continuation of the spine.
Yeah.
You can see the prosternum. Beautiful masculine head. I like this. Okay, are you done with this one? Can I open the next
Yeah.
one?
Next one.
Okay. All right, talk to us.
That's another year Canon, another dog, junior world winner.
Okay.
In Finland in the World Show. That's another dog that has also the little bit leg compare with two strict American, especially English.
Yes.
Beautiful length of stifle.
Yes. Look at that.
I mean, you see, they say the standard says that the stifle should be broad with with good angulation.
Yes.
You see the hocks in this dog. I mean, many dachshunds, for example, standard longs, for example, you see also in different continents, not only in Europe, they have huge hocks.
Yeah, long, very long.
And
hocks.
because of them, they move so badly in the rear.
Yes. And this is a problem in the breed. So judges should be conscious of that. Is the length of hock. When your hock is too long, then the dog it's unable to drive back. It starts to do all sorts of weird things in the rear, because
Exactly.
the short hocks gives you the driving power. So when it's longer, you get a weaker movement. What I also would like to point out on this one, for me particularly, is the rear and the extent. I mean, you've got proper turn of stifle. You see the turn of stifle because of the correct length of the rear, the bones in the rear, that gives it that
An
correct
upper thigh. Yeah.
Yeah, because so many of them don't have this length, and the rear
No.
legs like here, right? And
It's diagonal from the upper thigh directly to the hook.
Absolutely. And then you have this incorrect movement, because then they are unable to structurally reach.
They moving by rotating the rear inwards, so they can balance to move forward, than having the really extension, because there's space for the leg to extend behind.
Correct.
Also, you see in this dog the amazing shoulders, well put shoulders there with the the length of shoulder blade with the.
And again underneath.
I mean, if the judge, when he's judging, putting his fingers and measure from the shoulders, the shoulder blade and the upper arm, could understand that the dog, how it's built.
Yes.
And it's so easy for the dachshunds.
Yes.
I mean, smooth wire or long.
Yeah.
It's not so much hair that you could not see the upper arm.
Yeah.
Even in the long one.
Agreed. Okay, are we moving on? You good?
Yeah. The same dog, I have him in movements there.
Yes.
And you see exactly what we was talking with the one before. You see the amazing correct level of the front leg that is not getting up and smash his face. It's not working, going like you see some these Nazi parades or North Korea soldiers. They go like up. You see so many dachshunds, and this is like I mean, this North Korea soldier parade. They go with the legs up like that. No, this is the correct front leg. How you should use it. They should use it. And of course, what you said there, that you see the rear, powerful behind, and you see the pose also.
See, when they've got the correct angulation and correct length, they are able, the foot is able to come underneath to drive, you know, to properly, and then extend out. Very nice.
Go under the dog and still use the paw and not the whole hock to.
Yes, using the foot and not the hock. So when they're too long in hock, they end up using the hock because they're trying to compensate.
Exactly.
Okay. Right. Let's move along. Okay. Tell me about this one.
Yeah, that's one of my dogs I love the most. Here, Need You Now, the dog that has done so well in Australia that I have sent him some years ago, and proud of Yardley Kennel, Joanne and Mark, that he have done so much for the dog, and he have done so much for their breeding.
Yeah, he's produced well, actually. I've actually judged some of the progeny.
I'm really proud that this dog could bring, of course, with their bitches, that they are very well bred.
Yes.
And they have very well bred dogs from UK behind.
Yes.
And produce supreme champions, many. They could not believe, for example, that in their first national in America, that happened 2018, when, I mean, first national after he arrived, you know, and they could use him in the breeding, and they could use only puppies after him. They have won the number 1, number 2, number 4, and number 5 puppy. That was all.
Excellent.
Yeah. And I mean, you can see the construction also. He's a Paco son also.
Nice.
And you could see the construction also. Perfect shoulders, well laid after neck.
Yeah.
Perfect top line, shoulders, top line.
Yeah.
Good croup, tail seat. And of course, the rear that we have already discussed.
Yeah, and well, we're back.
Excellent.
Okay. Next one.
This is my outcross dog, because like we discussed about outcrossing, for example, and how you use it. This is what I used for bringing a new blood into my breeding program.
Okay.
And this dog is having actually a Russian father.
Okay.
And what I have done is one of the most successful dogs winning all over the world. It's a Magic Rainbow Ordinary.
Yes, super dog.
Everybody knows him and everybody loves him, I think. And he have won so much. And because of that, he have bred so much, many females. What I could see in my liking, that this dog was not producing of what different bitches has bred to him. not producing what I really was wanted for my breeding. Not that he was producing bad ones, okay? Do not be misunderstanding, but he was not producing exactly what
you
wanted. But his brother, in the little brother that was in another kennel, that it was not so famous because he has not won so much, but he has been bred with their breeding program. And I could see that from their breedings, this dog was powerful enough and dominant enough to produce what I thought that is important. Plus, he was bred with several standards in Russia that proved to produce minis. So he was a size reducer. Okay. I used him and include him.
I just want to move you along because we all want to show the videos, but what I like on this, and I want people to see, is actually the rear, the shape of the rear. This is what's missing in many Dachshunds, is they don't have the correct shape rear, which is that nice full apple bum, as we call it. They are very straight, very angular behind, and I particularly like this. My only complaint about this dog is its nails. They're too long, Dimitri. Cut the nails.
It happened to be that in that picture, you know, unfortunately. But I'm not using Photoshop in my dogs, you know. I could cut the nails with Photoshop, but all my pictures are actually real, except of brightness.
I'm going to play this video maybe twice. Can you just talk us through it and what you want people to see in this?
I have made some videos in slow motion that shows actually what I loved about Dachshunds of moving. A well-moving dog that keeps the top line while having a very beautiful, strong.
I'm going to play that again.
Powerful drive and reach in the front.
Okay.
She also have an unbelievable temperament and totally wagging tail all the time. She could be more stable, but you could see the reach and drive that this dog gives. And this is what we want to see.
And one thing that you brought up, we talked about it earlier, but I do want to stress it, is temperament. You cannot put up Dachshunds with bad temperaments or shy temperaments, because again, this is how we come under attack when we have bad temperaments and they're biting people or they're nervous biters. That's something that I hope people pay attention to, both breeders and judges.
Exactly.
It's ruining the breed if we have this. Okay. Right, here we go.
Also in slow motion, another dog that really gives a reach and drive.
Very nice. Okay, I'm just
and beautiful temperament also. You see the tail doesn't stop. It's from left to...
Yeah.
And deeper. You see also lower to the ground. This bitch is lower to the ground, but still can move.
Correct. Okay, moving along.
Best Paco-san for me. You see very small, almost like an inch in size. And you can see, stop there. So you can see also, oh, yeah, you can leave it after. You can see how the top line keeps perfectly and the front legs that leaves them in the right. You see, stacking picture there. And for this, I stop the video there. You can see reach and drive, pose up in the rear, while all the dog is still balanced.
Very nice. It's just, okay. And this is the dog I want people to see moving. So now, talk
this is, before you play the video, yeah. I mean, this is Paco, 12 years of age. 2 years ago. He's 14 years old now. And you can see also the extension in front and the rear. Never accept to give excellence to a dog that keeps the legs under them and moves them even quickly. Some they go like that. Yeah. People, they have to focus their eyes that the dog has a drive, a powerful drive.
Unfortunately, I think the handler's got him off. He's a bit mistimed here. It's the handler's problem. The football is not perfect, but I'm just going to play that again because he is a beautiful moving dog. And at 12, to still be moving like that and keeping that top line is amazing.
Yeah.
And he's not very gray, actually, surprisingly.
I'm really honored to have had him in my life. It's a dog of a lifetime, both in temperament, producing, and he's the king of the house.
Excellent. All right, we're back.
Thank you for showing the videos I have sent you.
No problem. The one thing I want to just mention also on movement is, actually, I've lost my train of thought now. Never mind. It'll come to me. All right. Okay. Any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
I mean,
I think we've covered most things.
The most things, you know, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful breed. It's an easy breed. You can travel all over the world. You can show it all over the world. But let's make a nice moving dachshund that is acceptable as in the most of the continents, in the right judges, of course.
What we need, the only thing I regret you didn't do was when you did videos, you did side videos. I would love to show out and back movement, to show correct train track movements that they should have, and width in front, you know, not being narrow, not being too wide like a bulldog, but, you know,
exactly.
correct width. Maybe that's
something to consider for the future.
Part 2. Okay, we'll do judges education on dachshund movement. But yes, please don't reward dogs with poor or poor movement, because it doesn't do the breed a service, actually. Dimitris, thank you very much. It's been absolutely fun to talk dachshunds with you. My favorite topic, of course, plus to get to know you a bit better. And I hope our video helps breeders, judges. Maybe it'll start some discussion. I don't know. We might be on hit list, you and I, but you know, it doesn't matter.
Hopefully, good one.
Thank you so much, my friend. You take care.
Thank you so much for having me.
And look forward to catching up with you some part of the world sometime.
Absolutely. Look forward to meet you soon.
Okay. Take care. Bye-bye now.
Thank you.